I thought I had time to sit on this word and allow God to speak to me more concerning it. I wanted to make sure that I had the right heart posture as well as the right spirit to bring such a word forth. But God has placed this so heavily on my spirit, I know that it's time. So there's a couple things that he wants to talk about concerning your enemies. First, he wants me to read something that I just wrote in my journal earlier today. Sometimes as I'm journaling, I think that it's me who's writing. I think that it's me who is speaking my own thoughts. Then I come to realize that it's actually God speaking through my writing. So the part in the journal that he wants me to read is, he said I wore the rags. He said he trusts me with a little, and now he's blessing me with a lot. Don't wait then to be proud. Don't wait then to say I always knew you could do it. I was disregarded, pushed away, rejected. They tried to cover me up, not realizing there were seeds in my pain. They threw dirt on me, then counted me out, not realizing they left me to grow, not die. I'm sorry to break it to you. A lot of the same people who were assigned since birth to be your caretaker, to be your caregiver, are about to be put to shame. I'm sorry to break it to you, but a lot of them are about to see the wrath of God. God has been dealing with me regarding standing in between his wrath and a person that I'm trying to save, a person that I don't want to see fall down to the pit. God is saying it's time for you to step back. God is saying it's time for you to move out of the way because your enemies are running out of time. The people who talked about you, the people who mocked you, the people who critiqued and criticized you, they're running out of time. Soon God's anger is going to unfold on them, and if you are standing too close, it's going to hit you too. God is saying it's time to move. God is saying listen closely to his instruction because he is moving you. God wants you to know, do not feel guilty that when you sit and have conversations with these people, it doesn't feel right. Do not feel guilty. Do not think that it's because you're walking in unforgiveness while the relationship just seems off. Do not believe that it's your fault, that there is something in that relationship that feels as though it is missing. God says these people are not meant to go with you. God says these are people who have chosen to become enemies of God, not only through their iniquity, but through their carelessness. These same people who you are trying to save, these same people that you are trying to protect from God's wrath, do not care about you. They do not care if you win or lose. In fact, they're hoping you lose so that they can continue to talk about you. They're hoping you lose so that they can come back and say, where is your God now? God is saying, why are you protecting the same people who try to snuff out your very existence? Why are you trying to protect the same people who try their best to destroy your character, to destroy your self-worth, to destroy your self-esteem? God is saying they disregarded you, they pushed you away, they rejected you, they tried to cover you up, they tried to hide you, they tried to push you to the side. They tried to get you out of our view, the same as Joseph. Joseph's dad counted him out. Joseph's dad didn't even consider him to be worthy. He didn't even consider him to be mentioned. God is saying your very own parents have rejected you. Your very own parents have pushed you away. Your very own parents don't even want to see you win. And this is not to be negative. This is not to put too much emphasis on the enemy. This is about clarification. This is about understanding. God wants you to know you have to get out of these people's way. God wants you to know you're going to have to leave them right where they stand. They left you out to die. They left you out to die. That's why when they see you now, they don't know how to handle you. When they see you now, they don't know what to say. When they see you now, they're confronted with their own preconceived judgments. But do not for 1 minute think that these people feel any conviction or any regard as to how they treated you, because they do not. These are the type of people who truly have to be wiped out by God before they even consider turning back to Him. There is no hope when it comes to you saving them. God did not place you in their lives to save them. He placed you in their lives only to be an example, a quiet example, a silent example. Your enemies are watching you. Your enemies may not be making a lot of noise, but they are trying to figure out your blessing. They are trying to figure out what it is that God has coming for you. And it's causing a rift in the relationship. God is saying, stop trying to love people who are set on hating you. Stop trying to love people who are set on discouraging you, set on mistreating you. That is not what God means when He says to love your enemies. God also wants you to know that while they critiqued you, while they criticized you, while they dragged your name through the mud, He was proud. He was proud. God says you feel the way that you do about yourself because of the lies that the enemy has told you. Let that go. God says the enemy has went out of their way to block you from seeing God's true intentions for your life. For a lot of you, this has started since birth. For a lot of you, your own parents were the cause of your insecurity, were the cause of your self-doubt, were the reason why you felt so low, or the reason why you feel so inadequate. God says the devil is a liar. Another thing that He keeps pointing out to me is you've already wore the rags. You've already wore the rags. That has been so deep in my spirit these past few days. I just cannot get away from it. God has chased me down with that word. God is saying you have already wore the rags. You have already shown what you can do with a little bit. You have already shown your faithfulness to God even when you have a little bit. I feel in the spirit for a lot of you, you wore the rags. God is saying you wore the rags in front of your enemies. God said He placed you in rags before your enemies. He wanted to see how are you going to navigate in those rags in the presence of your enemies. A lot of you have went from feeling insecure. A lot of you have went from feeling crazy for believing and holding on to what it is that God has spoke over you to not caring. Listen, I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care if you don't understand. I don't care if you think that I'm going the wrong way. I don't care if you think that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't care if you think that I should be more focused on saving myself. God says a lot of your enemies called you evil. They called you bitter. They called you stupid. They called you selfish. They beat you down. They mistreated and manipulated you. And now are turning around saying, where did we go wrong? And now they're turning around saying, what is with this bad blood? Please don't forget. Ooh. God says, please don't forget. Don't forget how they talked about you. Don't forget the things that they said about you. And the fact that you aren't bending over backwards for them now, the fact that you aren't answering the phone every single time that they call now is not because you're bitter. It's not because you're unforgiving. It's because your spirit knows that you have been rejected. Your spirit knows that you have been pushed away. So why would you expect to get in the presence of these people and feel peace? Why would you expect to get in the presence of these people and feel loved? God says that in this time, you are going to see the true intentions of everyone around you. In this time, He's going to reveal to you the character of all of the people around you. Believe Him. It's not your best friend telling you. It's not your cousin telling you. Believe Him. Because He sits high and looks low. Just yesterday, I was feeling guilty. Just yesterday, I was feeling sad, thinking, I thought that when I got on the other side, I would be there with you. But I got a different perspective today. I got a different outlook on it today. No, I don't need to hear I'm proud of you. I don't need to hear I knew you could always do it. I don't need to hear I was rooting for you the whole time. I'm making peace with knowing that when I get to the other side, I'm going to be alone. And that's fine, because I want to enjoy my vindication with the same people who uplifted me when I was down, who built me up when I was at my lowest. God is saying, why are you trying to reap your blessings with the same people who did not want to hold your pain? With the same people who didn't want to acknowledge your pain, even when it was them that caused it. God is saying he has set a table before your enemies, in the presence of your enemies, not so that they can come and sit at the table too. They can't sit at this table. In fact, inviting these people at the so-called kindness of your heart to sit at your table or get that table removed, God is not playing. He's not allowing the enemy to partake in any of his goodness. The enemy robbed you of your goodness for long enough. God is saying, don't go doing a whole bunch of explaining. Don't go talking about what you plan on doing, how you planning on getting out this situation. Keep your mouth closed. They will know. They will see it. In a minute, there won't be any room for questions. In a minute, there won't be any room for concern. In a minute, they won't have to wonder, how did you do it? They won't have to wonder if you have enough strength to do it, because it's already done. But I just feel that so heavily. God says you already wore the rags. And I know I mentioned this in another video, but he will not leave me alone about it. You already wore the rags. You already had less than. And when you had less than, you walked around with your head held high. You may have felt ashamed. You may have felt down. You may have felt lowly. But you walked around with your faith. You walked around holding on to your faith. God says your enemy seen you toiling. Your enemy seen you do without with a smile, and they were confused. They laughed at you. They didn't want to believe that the peace that can only come from God is what was sustaining you. But they had no choice but to see it. But God says even the more. God says even the more. Listen, I wish everybody the best. I don't want to see anybody going through it. But at the same time, to say that I want to see my enemies reap what they sown, to say that I believe that everybody should reap what they have sown, is not evil. It's not sinful. David had the opportunity to kill his enemy, rightfully so, and still chose to go about the Lord's vindication. God says he's seen when you chose to leave vengeance in his hands. He's seen all the times that you could have used your words to hurt. You could have stolen back what was rightfully yours. No, you did not handle it perfectly, but you could have done a lot more. You could have gotten a lot more evil. You could have gotten a lot more sinful. You could have chosen to take vengeance into your own hands. God says he's seen those tears that you cried concerning your enemies. He's seen it all. He's seen it all. He's seen when you were smiling in the presence of a dog. He's seen when you kept your composure in the presence of a snake. He's seen when you had the opportunity to boast and brag in yourself, but yet and still you chose to boast and brag in the Lord. He's seen it. God says you already wore the rags. When he vindicates you, remember that you already wore the rags. When those blessings start pouring in, remember that you already wore the rags. God said that you were at the bottom of the barrel, but he's raising you to the top. He's raising you to the top. You are going to be sitting high above your enemies. A lot of your enemies have went from having a serious spirit of arrogance, of mockery, to now they don't know how to handle you. They don't know how to come at you because they recognize that that spark that they were trying to kill, that spark that they were trying to snuff out, has somehow risen to the top. God says they threw dirt on you. They counted you out, not realizing that they left you to grow and not die. You were sitting in that quiet place to grow and not die. You were sitting in lack to grow and not die. God placed you somewhere alone so that you could grow and not die. God says he's about to show you. God says he's about to show you what your seeds have made. He's about to reveal to you what your pain has planted. When I wrote that, they tried to cover me up, not realizing there were seeds in my pain. God instantly reminded me of this vision of a huge, wide open field. This recurring vision, it's almost like he continues to add different pieces to it. There's this part in the vision where I'm standing in a wide open field, and there's thousands on thousands on thousands of beautiful, huge flowers. Beautiful. You are standing in a wide open place. You can no longer stumble. You can no longer fall. God has expanded your space. He's expanded your realm. And in this space is everything that you have sown. In this space is a harvest that belongs to you and you alone. In this space is your vindication. You did that. You did it for God. You did it with his strength, but you did that. You didn't have to. God wants you to know you did not have to do what you did for him. You did not have to go about things the way that he called you to go about them. So therefore, he is pleased. So therefore, count every mistake as a blessing. Count every loss as a blessing. Because in this season, you cannot lose. In this season, you cannot die. In this season, all of a sudden, a garden is blooming. God is vindicating you in the presence of your enemies. He's putting them to shame. And before he does, he has to fully remove you. Please do not look back.